Hi everyone, I'm Anthony J Mead and I'm the author of the New Age Karma Handbook. Now today I want to talk to you about a part of the book, a chapter in the book, which I call Karma in Your Name. What does this mean? Well, I believe that the universe leaves a trace of your karmic past, some of your present and a bit of your future in your name, in your personal identity, your name. In a way it's feasible if you think about it, because you can't take anything with you when you leave this life, nothing material. You're not going to bring anything back. You know, when you come back as a reincarnation, a child, you're not going to bring anything back. The sum total of your existence is basically what you've done and where you've been in regard to this life. You know, how you've applied yourself in this life and all your thoughts and stuff like this. The sum total of your existence lies within your soul. So that's really all we've got, and the universe will reflect you through your name. So it basically means that if you research your name, you can find things that relate to you and what you've done. I suppose in a way it's kind of like a bus ticket. In fact, that's what I use, the analogy I use when I talk to my clients. I say, you've got a karmic bus ticket there. I mean, you can remember in the old days, especially when you got on a bus, you got a ticket and it used to have reams of information on the back about where it was going to go, you know, times it was going to get there, the costs and all this sort of stuff. They're probably still like this today, but I haven't travelled on a bus for a while, so I'm not too sure about it. But it's a good analogy. You get a ticket on a bus and it gives you bags of information. Your name is similar in a karmic fashion. Now, what you've got to do, and certainly what I've tried to do in the New Age Karma Handbook, is exploit what I can find in a person's name. See? You have to exploit or use what you've got there in your name. And the way I do it is, and this happened a few years ago, it's nothing new, but I did write about it extensively in the book. But what I do is, some years ago, I invented a small word game which I play in people's names, and it's you know, it's quite interesting. I drop letters in a person's name and make words and predict with it. I've done it for years, and honestly, it's like second nature. But I'm very serious about it, and you know, there are certain rules that have to be, you know, you have to abide by. But the word game constitutes that I add letters to a person's name by inserting them to make words, and I divine and predict with the words. Of course, I have to use my intuition a little bit as well. You just can't stick the words in and just guess at it. Got to try and marry it up with a little bit of one's intuition, and I also use the Confucian classic I Ching to help me. So, you know, there's various things there for me to try and work this out. Now, in the next slide, I'm going to give a small demonstration of all of this. I won't over elaborate, just give a basic outline. Show you something simple. If you need more info, you have to go onto the Amazon website and read it up on the book a little bit. So that option's there for you. But I'm going to show you what I do in regards to how I play this little word game. And I'm going to use a character or a famous person from the past to demonstrate my method. If you want lots more information on it, then you know, you will have to read it up in the New Age Karma Handbook. Okay, how do we play this very unusual little word game in a person's name? How do we apply it in such a way that we can make words that relate to their past, their present and their future? Well, there are two methods that we can employ to do this: the simple method and the alphabetical method. Now, the simple method is very easy to understand. We insert as many letters into a name to make words. That's dead simple. I mean, you just insert letters, as many as you want, to make the words that you want to make. The alphabetical method is slightly more complicated and a bit more effective. With the alphabetical method, you can only add letters that I term alphabetically inclined. Now, this is a very simple method to explain. Say somebody's called Brian. If you wanted to add letters next to the B, you could only put either A or C. See? Perhaps the other side of Brian, well, the other side of the B in Brian, you got the R, so you could, if you wanted to, put an S in between the R and the B. Or you perhaps could put a Q, but really you wouldn't really make a word out of that, so that's not really on. But you can only add letters that stand next to each other in the alphabet in regards to that name. So it's what I call alphabetically inclined. Now, I'll explain it a bit more when we come to do it, you know, or we'll concentrate on it a bit more when we talk about it. For the sake of this little exercise, I'm going to just concentrate on the simple method because it's the easiest method and it's the best method to demonstrate. Now, you can do all this, but there are rules that we must abide by. Two letters of the word that you're going to make in a name must be already present. So if you're going to make the word John in a name, you'd expect two of those letters of John to be in that name already. Maybe an H and the N or something. You can insert as many letters in the name to make words. Well, I've explained that one. You know, you can just go ahead gung-ho and stick as many letters in that you want. Any letter in a name can double. Now, this is pretty straightforward. If you've got a B in Brian and you want to put another B there, you can, and that's fine. Or if you've got the R in Brian and you want to double that, you can put two R's. The rule 4 is slightly more complicated, it needs a bit of thinking. Some letters sound similar, so therefore can be classed as the same. Now, this took me years to work out, and it's part of a Chinese oracle that I dwelt upon many years ago. But I mean, to save you all the boring stuff in it, C and K, J and G, and S and Z are classed as the same, which means you could put a C in a name and it would count as C or K. Likewise, if a C or K are in the name, they can be each other. A G can be in a name, but it can be classed as a J if you want. It's all free choice. And S and Z are similar. You'll get the hang of this. I mean, don't worry. We'll show you some little examples. This is amazingly simple when you grasp it. If you like doing crosswords or making anagrams, it's fantastic. It's incredible how this throws up things in a name. Believe me. And you know something? I've done loads of readings in my time, and I can tell you something now. I can concentrate on a name and always find little words in a name. And 9 times out of 10, we bang on. Bang on. I'll give you a little instance, and this happened a little while ago, but and I obviously can't say too much about it because I don't want to break any confidentiality laws or what you call it, breach privacy or anything like this. But I saw a name recently. I say recently, it probably was a few months back, and I made the word suds out of it. S-U-D-S, suds. And I'll tell you what happened. immediately when I saw suds, I thought, this guy, perhaps he's got something to do with soap. But then I thought, no, a guy, you know, universally, guys wouldn't have anything to do with soap. Women might, but not guys. And I thought, perhaps he does a bit of engineering. And guess what? Without going too far into it, the guy was an industrial engineer. He was an engineer. And suds is a word that comes up a lot in engineering. I don't quite know what it's used for, but I mean, if you speak to the average guy that works in engineering, suds is something he'd know, or she'd know. So, you know, take it from me, suds has got a big link with engineering or metal and stuff. And it came out of a name, and immediately I said, look, it's something to do with engineering. Bang! A strike, a hit. So this has got some mileage in it. It's different, I know. And if you learn to apply it properly, you can have some real good fun with it. In the next slide, I'll demonstrate properly. Okay, time to demonstrate the word game. And for the purpose of this demonstration, I've picked a very famous character from the history of the United States, one of their greatest presidents. In fact, many consider him to be possibly the greatest, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who won a record amount of elections and who died in 1945. But Franklin Delano Roosevelt achieved some fantastic things during his terms in office, and amazingly, using our little word game, we can find a few of them. Now, you've got Franklin Delano Roosevelt at the top there, so all you've got to do is just relate to that, and I'll show you how the word game works in relation to finding out some of these things and making little predictions. Now look at Roosevelt's name, look, Franklin. Now if you go to Franklin and you stick E and W there, you make the word new. And then in Delano, look, all you've got to do is stick an A, and you've got one of President Roosevelt's greatest achievements, which was the implementation of the New Deal. Now, I'm sure a lot of you that are well up on your history, and especially American history, will realise what New Deal was. And no, it's got nothing to do with what the Blair government did in this country. It's got nothing to do with that. Though that was based a little bit on it. The New Deal was Roosevelt's achievement, where he created work programs for the American people who were in the midst of the Great Depression, and he got them back on the road to full employment, and you know, it started the economy turning over again, and really it was a brilliant strategy. Like I said, it's got nothing to do with the thing that was created in this country during the 90s by the Blair government. That's got nothing to do with it. This was the original New Deal program. It was a brilliant strategy. It put America back on the road to recovery, and it was a fantastic achievement. And I look at it, it was probably President Roosevelt's greatest achievement, and look at it, bang in the middle of his name. It couldn't get much better than that. Now go down one lot and you've got another brilliant anagram in his name. You've got between Frank and Lynn, look, you can just put an ST and you've got Stalin. Now Stalin was the leader of Russia, and there was that fantastic historical meeting between President Roosevelt, Joseph Stalin, and our own Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and that took place at Yalta, look, and there it is, look, you've got Stalin there and you've got Yalta there, so amazing how it's thrown that up, look, fantastic. Then one line beneath that, look, you've got another little, well, it's not an anagram because it's already there, but I mean, you've got Franklin, look, now I think everyone will agree, he was probably the most sincerest American president since George Washington. You know, you couldn't have got a more honest man than Franklin Roosevelt. He was fabulous. And there it is in his name. But what's more interesting, look, when Britain went to war with Germany, with the rest of Europe, but President Roosevelt wasn't forthcoming straight away in sending support. You know, I mean, he did support the Allies as such, but not by sending troops. And I think it was his way of trying to ensure that Americans weren't drawn into a war that they've got no real link with. It was our war as such, but obviously didn't want to harm American troops, and he did keep them back, look. So look at that, look, no troops in his name. When I saw that straight away, I thought, yeah, I know what that means. Obviously after Pearl Harbor, the Yanks came into the war, so fair deal. But up until a certain point, you know, they were kept out of the war by the president, who did hold back. And the last anagram, look, which I thought was a unique one, was President Roosevelt's wife, Eleanor. I mean, she was a rock. She was the president's ears and eyes to a degree, because, you know, the American president was in a wheelchair for a lot of his time in office through polio. So his wife, his dear wife Eleanor, was always there to support him as much as she could. And there she is, look, bang in his name. Now look, this is not possibly a massive work of art, this, but I think it tells you a few little things. You can find things in people's name. You can find bits of their karma. You can find bits of their future. You can see some of their present. Definitely, you know, if you were experimenting with this and you worked it all out on that, and you didn't know Roosevelt, and then you found out through the history books what had happened, I think you'd be impressed. I think you'd be impressed with that. Obviously, this is just an example, and I've had to use one from the past, and you'll find that this is the same example that's in the book, along with another little bit more complicated example, which is based around Julius Caesar. But this is just showing you the method that I've talked about, where you just stick letters in the name, and you can make little words, and those words can have quite a bearing in relation to your karmic past, your future. You know, you can hit things. I've done it loads of times, so I'm not talking off my head. I've done it loads of times, and I'm telling you now, if you learn this little technique, as simple and as unassuming as it seems, you can have some great fun with it, and you can get very accurate with it, and you can surprise yourself and others. It's a dynamite method, it really is. My name is Anthony J Mead. I'm the author of Simplified I Ching. It's available from Amazon Books, where you can get it in either paperback or Kindle format. So go in and have a look. And I thank you for looking at this audio